back to another episode of A State of Loud. I'm your host, Christopher Jefferson, and you know the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. AJX Beast, the podcast man, is here joining me once again. AJ, say hi to the people. Wow. Wow. First day back, new guy. First day back. No, don't say hi now. Don't say hi. The volume's probably not even on for it. Wow. This is how we start a show, ladies and gentlemen. This is how we start a show. I'm not redoing this. We're staying here for this. You going to say hello yet?
Hey, hello. Hey, everyone.
Wow. All right.
Hey, we keep it raw on the show.
Way to steal the show, AJ. Thank you. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, today we do have another very special guest on here. I've known him officially from what he says, like 18 to 19 years of my life, which seems crazy to even say. He is a director. He's a filmmaker. He is an all-around good guy, not just saying it for the cameras. Beast on Dance Floor, dance music extraordinaire, and tearing up things in a place near you, hailing all the way from Brooklyn. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. John Fuentes, welcome to the show, my guy.
Sir, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here, sir.
Absolutely, man. I had to have you on. I think we've been talking about having you on since I started the show. Like, oddly enough, I never invited you. I would just talk to you about it or ask you questions.
Yeah, no, I was, I'd always been interested in, I've always been very helpful.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
So, I wanted to see where you went with it. And then you started doing it. I checked out all your Instagram stuff and I was just
like, it's real.
Hit the like and subscribe.
I always appreciate it. I always appreciate it, man. Nah, but we had to have you on because a lot of people don't realize is like you were one of the main people to help me when I got started in the media space. Like I remember, I still remember like my first big conversation with you was cameras. And I'm like, do I buy like a Blackmagic 4K? Like, I don't know if this is going to work. Is this for norms? And you sent me stills of video you shot on a Blackmagic 4K. And I was like, sold. I was like, okay, this is for, I was like, you did this for a client? They paid for this? And you're like, yes. Like you can do well stuff. And from then, the journey kind of started. I pick your brain from everything from editing to color grading. I still remember sending you every piece I was doing and waiting for that gut-wrenching text to be like, oh God, what is he going to criticize when it gets back to me? But every step of the way, it got me to where I am now and what I'm doing. So I appreciate you being there and doing that for me, man. But enough about me and everything you do for me. I got to ask, what are you up to now? What are you working on?
So, bunch of freelance, obviously.
Yes.
It's kind of, I come mostly from the advertising space.
Mm-hmm.
So, doing smaller projects it's fun, but it's also kind of like, okay, you got to be a little bit more of a hired gun, kind of like one man band or like not just the crews themselves are a little bit more skeletal. So there's a lot more added responsibility for the small things. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, which, doesn't bother me. I think I needed to kind of take a chill pill when it came to just going from big stuff, planning things with all these clients to making things a little bit more intimate because it allows you to give yourself room and space to say, okay, well, this part of what I'm doing is important. This part, I can let that go. And, when it comes to the advertising space, a lot of it is ego driven, especially when you're dealing with a team, you're getting the creative person or the creative directors, like they will come in and want to leave their mark on it. And then you have to, then I'm the guy who's like, well, I have to create it.
Yep. You got to take, I have to take your brainchild and make it a reality.
Sure. It's multifaceted when you're dealing with, a client like Budweiser or something.
Yeah, seriously.
They have their very specific brand language. And then you have to take that, mold it from the people that they bring on for those specific projects. Then you have to deal with your team. And if your team isn't aligned, then it turns into, okay, who's gonna leave like little bits and bops of their own voice on this project? Who's gonna take credit for when it goes well and who's gonna run away from it when it doesn't?
Yeah, seriously.
So, there was a lot of that in what I was doing for a long time. So now, I'm doing slightly smaller gigs, but they're good because you get a little bit more freedom.
Yeah.
Clients trust you a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
You don't actually have to worry so much about these little like minute things or dealing with this type of crew or this.
Yep.
No, you're kind of hanging out with real people who you're trying to make look a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
You ask them the right questions. You have your producer there. You're working, and at the end of the day, you look at the final product, and no matter how you wanted it to look, it's still not yours. It's never been about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's kind of where I'm at now.
Okay.
I'm doing a lot more just tight knit, smaller but plentiful gigs.
Yes. Yes. I like the word plentiful.
Yes.
Especially out here, man, because I know, like when COVID hit, a lot of things changed in the industry. Not everyone's holding crews on staff anymore. A lot more freelance hires, a lot more hiring companies to do all that work for them. So like you said, but there is still more plentiful gigs out here. And I think you made a very interesting point that I have to hit on, where you said, I get to make this piece, but at the end of the day, it's still theirs. And I think a lot of people don't realize, when it comes to film, when it comes to media, you may have some artistic desires for the piece that you're working on, but if it doesn't like align with what the client wants, you can't take that personal. You have to be willing to say, okay, we can do that, and keep moving forward, kind of detaching yourself from it, unless, like you said, where you get to a place where your clients are like, hey, we trust you. This looks great. This is amazing. We're going to move forward with it. How much have you dealt with that type of back and forth frustration throughout your career? And like, is there any times that really stood out where like a project maybe went way too long, or it took way too much to get done just for the most minute piece that like no one was going to notice?
So, yes, it's a client which I won't name, but they had a very Sex in the City idea of how they wanted to present.
Okay.
And that might have narrowed it down.
Because in my mind, I'm like, all right, like, but okay.
Beauty brands are very specific
Okay.
on their own thing. But, I've worked with a few. L'Oreal is a big one, but that's not this one.
Mhm.
And Victoria's Secret, I've worked with them. So those are the bigger ones, but they're once they have it set and you're supposed to get it in motion, they're pretty easy about it because everything is decided.
Mhm.
There's no like, well, we could play with, no.
Yep.
You have to fit with this. This is our product line. These are the colors that we are approving. These are the talent
Okay.
that we're approving. Not like you can do
Sheesh.
like events, and that's when things kind of get blasé. But the bigger stuff,
Mhm.
it's planned ahead. It's it gets a little bit more shaky when you're on set. Obviously, there's certain things that you have to kind of account for
Yeah.
because there's things that go wrong or right or you never know.
Absolutely.
But when it comes to smaller brands who are creating their brand,
Mhm.
they don't know where they want to go just yet.
Mm.
That's when you start to run into trouble.
I'm only laughing because I have an idea of what you're referencing to, but we won't get into that. But I think you do make a really good point on it. Is like earlier on you have that freedom, but the bigger organizations tend to have a set means of structure that they want something a certain way and they go with it. Now, in working with bigger clients, do you ever feel like that heightened level of specificity? I'm messing all the words with it. Yes, is actually worth it in the end result, or do you find yourself still getting beautiful, outstanding looking products on the smaller gigs where they allow you to more creativity?
It's tough because what's really beautiful about having a brand language is that it's set. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And then you can play with that. Like, I think the fact that you're given those limitations allows you to be like, oh, well, we're not
Mm.
bypassing it.
Yeah.
We're like molding around it. And
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of fun.
Mm.
And then when you come out with something that like hits their brand and you're like, oh shit. I can curse.
Yeah, you can absolutely. This is YouTube. This is YouTube. Yeah, you're good.
Um, I think once you hit on their brand, and then you can kind of you're given like a certain level of leeway.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, this is what you have to do legally, especially when it comes to like an alcohol brand.
Mm-hmm.
Legally, we have to hit these guidelines. If you go past this, like you're not supposed to show people working out while they're lifting, or lifting heavy weights.
Yeah.
While they're drinking.
Yeah.
Some brands don't follow that, but
okay.
those brands aren't really that popular.
Yeah.
So, but then you have like, the bigger ones, which they'll sit there and they want to make everything about their product feel fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't necessarily say like, we're gonna watch people get shit house.
Yeah.
But we can create all the fun stuff that's happening around them. So you kind of you're speaking with subtext.
Okay.
And I think that's a lot of fun. When it comes to smaller brands, yes, you can still play, but you have this idea and this edit in your head, and you get it done. And you're like, wow, they're going to love this. This is going to be great. And then you show them, and they're like, okay, this is cool. We really want to change this. And then it turns into a laundry list. And you're like, okay, well, that's all right. We got it done.
Yep.
Let's get the next.
Yeah.
Technically, right? All ideas are pretty much rooted out. Like all bad ideas are rooted out with people just giving their notes. I think that if you're sitting in a room with people who honestly care about the product, you're always going to come back with a better product than before, because and that's how you can tell the difference between ego and who cares about the bigger picture. When you come out every time feeling like, even though something got moved or cut out or something, if it feels better, if you kind of like say, oh man, okay, that was the right move to make.
No. I'm taking that in because you made a point where you said that if it's not about ego, it's just coming out better than you thought. And I sometimes wonder, just given like looking at some of the advertisements we see on TV or social media, you wonder if there was ego heavily at play, or if something was like, nah, we just want to get this right. Yeah. And I feel like there's so much, I don't know the words I want to use to describe it, but there is a lot of ego in this field, because like there are some people that are like, I know it looks good. You don't know it looks good. This is my track record. You should believe me. Now, does that leave room for like artistic growth if someone is so one-sided on a set?
Well, so the thing is with that, a lot of the creative director people in a certain space, they don't actually know how to do any of the actual filming part,
Yep.
Right? A lot of these guys or gals or whoever, they, them, all good. They come from a space that is more design oriented. And after a long time, you start seeing these people get hired over and over and over again.
Ooh. So it's kind of being reinforced. It's like, I did something really good. This person's like, this turned out how we liked. We want you to do this for us. And you kind of just copy and paste it over and over different brands without actually like taking a leap of trying something new.
So you'll have people who do that.
Yeah.
That's great. But a lot of times what ends up happening is that they will eventually kind of stick to their way of doing things. So when you have someone of diversity, like someone with a diverse way of thought, it comes in and says, oh, we could try something new or different. No.
Wow. That's kind of, because like literally we're talking about brands wanting to stick with brands. And even as as a filmmaker, many people may choose to stick with their brand, right? And it's interesting. I don't know how I feel about it, because at one point I'm like, nah, if you got a brand and it works for you and you're getting clients, run with that and make your money. But at the same time, at what point should you be open to evolving to get better on the next set, where you're looking at the opportunity you have in front of you and saying, okay, I know that worked for there. I can take the meats and potatoes of that and bring them here, see how I can change things around based on where I am now.
Yeah, no, honestly, I also think it comes down to the way an agency is run.
Okay.
Because a lot of these places, what they'll do is they have their budget, they have their team with creating it, but then they still shop it to an agency.
Yep.
So, if you have an agency who will say, John's our guy. He's the one that's gonna guide it through. Then I'll come up with a treatment. And I'll send them, stills and a presentation of how it will feel, how it will look.
Okay.
Then you have the design guys who are like the higher ups that want to, put their name on it. Then it can become that.
Okay.
But you can kind of tell when a company or a brand wants to reach out to a specific talent, because it does feel very singular. Like you do not feel push and pull from a bunch of other people. You feel right. Like some of the best commercials that you've watched are like sensory. They're not announcing anything.
Yeah.
True.
You see the skin rise.
Yeah.
You see the sweat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's all sensory. It's like going to watching like a Nolan film. Like there's so much shit like being blown into your face while you're looking at something. But like there's something to that. It's a language that person that they specifically wanted, which is why, transitioning from DP work for me to more creative work, it's tough when you're trying to say like, no, I didn't shoot that. That came from my brain. And then a brand will see that and say, oh, I want that.
Yeah.
So that's how that's how you have to push yourself when you're saying that your brand, your personal brand, your personal way of doing things versus like how the company does it. I don't think there's a wrong answer there. I do think it takes a little bit of like a, but I also think that when they bring you on, certain people will be brought on specifically so they could get those feelings out of whatever product that they want to push. So, it's different for everywhere, for everything, for every place. But I think on the field, on the ground, when you're seeing something on TV, it's not always done by like a group or like a big room of people. It usually comes down to like one idea. And I think that's when it's the most powerful.
Wow.
Right? Because I'm just sitting here listening. And it's I don't think most people realize how much thought and energy and information goes into a 30-second clip.
So much.
15-second clip they may see on TV, 30-second clip you may see on social media, right? Like, I don't think people really see that, even down to the colors that are in it and the look that people love it. It may go over their heads, but like you said, it boils down to how it feels. And all of that complete sensory stimulation, like what you see, what you hear, what it makes you feel, what colors bring what emotions to the mind based on what's happening around them and how they're lit. It's literally just multi-dimensions of painting life for you to observe, hear, and see to affect how you feel when you're watching it. Wild. And that's marketing. And then people wonder why we can't put our phones down. Like that is literally the most, it's almost beautiful to a sense that we can understand the human brain and how our minds, body, and emotion react so well to observation of many different ways that like we can lock you in to learn something. We can lock you in to say, if you want to feel this way, this is the product for you. If you want to experience this, maybe this is the thing you need to buy. And like, it's a Jekyll and Hyde part, right? Because when you see it as a filmmaker, it's beautiful. When you watch it, you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like Christopher Nolan films. Like we talked about Oppenheimer like back and forth. And I was like, I think I gotta go back and watch it again. Like there's people that can create that full experience where the whole time you're like, yo, there was a lot of intent in this.
Yeah.
Versus where sometimes like I'm being sucked in just because like this is fun to watch.
I think, when it comes to Nolan films, I'm actually reading one of his biographies right now.
Sheesh, okay.
He's kind of just figured out a way to bring in these ideologies growing up and using them, within the realms of, can you trust your mind? We talked about this earlier with memory cards.
Yeah.
Can you trust your mind?
Ooh.
I mean, that's like the theme to most of his films.
Yeah. What was now see, can't trust my mind. Can't even think of the movie. Leonardo DiCaprio, spinny thing.
Inception.
Inception. There you go. I might have been incepted on the drive over
That's
here.
why I don't fall asleep on planes.
Bro, I'm just saying. AJ, I don't even know if you're holding up for that joke. Fall asleep on a plane? No, I fall asleep on a plane. You want to get incepted? Oh, man. Jeez, what show was that?
30 Rock.
Yo. Such a good movie. But you're right to that point. Like, having that notion of, like, can you trust your mind and what you see to be used in a part of the joyride of a movie, to me, blows me away when it comes to that experience. Because you have, like, some thrillers, like, horror film. It's gonna be suspenseful. I'm looking for some jump scares. There's gonna be an attacker. There's gonna be someone that has to run away. Someone falls, which I found out. Side note, I'm going on a complete tangent. We'll get back into the film things. Did you know the reason why people fall when they're running from danger is because due to your fight or flight, it constricts the blood vessels in your extremities to send all the blood to the center to protect everything. And what ends up happening is that's why you kind of go numb and lose all the function. So people falling in horror movies is not just because they needed like some woman to fall to be saved. It's like a real life thing.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like they didn't. Of course, it works with the storyline, but it's a real thing.
I just think they need to get rid of the whole convenient like battery dying on a cell phone thing. We have a charger, freaking
I mean, have you?
And we got portables now.
Yeah. You gotta you gotta put in like some kind of like thing like, oh man, the new version of the phone doesn't come out till next week. My battery dies. A stupid line, but it'll freaking get it.
I mean, people will be like, oh, that's so true.
Doesn't even last 12 hours.
No, not anymore, man. I'm charging halfway at work. What am I doing?
2 p.m.
I'm not going to have enough charge for the ride home on the train. But like to your notion with films, like knowing to expect in a film, like it's interesting because we like as humans, we like predictability when it comes down to our films, but at the same time, we like the surprises within it. Like, where do you feel like is there a balance in that, or does it just kind of boil down to style?
I think there's a subconscious agreement that you make when you decide to give up your time and your space to go and see something. You are agreeing to give something because you're agreeing to lose yourself for 2 hours. Or 3 hours. And then when you go back to like something like advertising, you're not in that agreement. You're trying to watch the thing that you agreed to.
Yes.
And then it's very hard for them. They don't even know statistically how well advertising works. I think the outreach is like 13%, but it's something very low, in terms of attention, or like there's you can have Nielsen, you can have all these like, advert like AI, blah, blah. Like I can scan if a person's watching this or buying this more. But at the end of the day, you don't 100% know how an ad works for an individual. You just know that if you put it out enough, it'll eventually stick to our anchors in our brains. And we'll eventually say,
I like this. Yeah, so it's not always that it's good. Sometimes it's just familiar.
Yes.
Oh.
And then that's why when you talk to me about color palettes and stuff I'm like, yeah, well, they're going to stick to that, right? And then the whole commercial is going to look like that, right? So when you go to a supermarket and recognize that color palette, you'll be like, I don't know why, but I need to buy that.
Yeah.
So
like Doritos.
Yeah.
You walk past a bag, you're like, I don't know. I need these. Okay. And oh my goodness,
apart
bro.
from the fact that they're cracked, but still.
Oh man, seriously, I know what's in it. I know I don't necessarily know it's good for me, but I'm gonna eat it. It's gonna at least maybe once in a while, right? Like, but that's so wild, bro. How deep and in depth advertising, film, and media, just the things we perceive and engage on a daily basis. How much thoughts behind it that most of us don't know. And just from talking to you now, like the level of information you have and experience you have is endless. I mean, we could definitely go on with it, but I have to ask, like, how in the world did you get started in this? Like, did you like wake up? Were you like an 8-year-old kid watching TV and be like, I want to make movies? Or like, did you see a commercial and do something like what was there a moment you were like, yo, this is what I want to do? And like, how did it kind of lead you into that path?
Well, as a kid, sounds a little cliche, but I never really felt like I belonged anywhere.
Mm.
Uh, every time I thought I had a group or something, I would say something and I'd be like, oh man, this doesn't click with me.
Okay.
But there was always something that I would go back to that was like a safety. And a lot of people that suffer from anxiety, they'll do this. They'll binge shows like
Mm-hmm.
because you know what's going to happen.
Yep.
They'll rewatch the same movie over and over and over again because that safety net, the reality of
Wow.
whatever that is. And I used that for my movies when I was a kid. I wore out the tape. I'll wait till I'm done talking. I was like,
I thought it was part of the scene.
No,
I was like, oh God.
Sound. No, so I wore out the tape to Batman 1989.
Oh wow. That was
Keaton.
Michael Keaton. Yeah.
So-
Jeez.
So yeah, there are certain scenes that if you were to put this VHS tape into a player, it's just static because that's how many times I would rewind and rewind.
Yeah.
So I kept doing. My mom and my dad noticed that I would do that a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I would like find tapes that I would love, and just keep watching.
Yeah.
And they're like, do you really like this? I'm like, I just want to know how this works. Always, always, always.
Sheesh.
Didn't think that I could make money off of it. I was like, what is this? Everyone's just playing around with cameras and like dinosaurs. Like, I was just like, whatever, or like E.T. Like, I don't know. It wasn't until, I was serving at Red Lobster for many years. I was, a server at Red Lobster. I was bartending at the time. And then all of a sudden they were like, oh, we can move you to management. And I was just like, I don't really want to be doing this. I was like 20 years old. I was like really young. 21, I think, is when I started to like say, oh man, maybe I want to work on cars or, maybe I want to do this or whatever. And I was just having like a moment of just feeling lost after my little brother, who
Yes, sir.
He was in grade school. I think he was second or third grade at the time. And he wrote this little book about who your heroes are. And I was front and center. And I was just like,
I can't be a hero at Red Lobster.
I almost went full like Enrique Iglesias moment. Like, I can't be your hero. I can't be your hero. Like whisper into it. Like, I could take away the pain. So I had this like moment where I was like, okay, that kind of broke my heart because I was just like, I haven't done anything yet.
Yeah.
So I set it aside, and like my dad, he noticed that I was like not feeling good that day, and I go to him, I'm like, I don't really know what to tell you. I feel pretty lost. And he goes,
wow.
If someone were to give you everything you needed, if you didn't need any kind of money, if you didn't need anything in the world, what would you do? I was like, oh, it was just like, and it like happened instantaneously. There's no,
Yeah.
like, huh?
What would I do? Yeah.
Do I need that light bulb? Didn't need it. It was just there. And he goes, then go do that. And I like had this moment of like, okay, what programs do I look into? Okay, NYU's too much money. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, don't care. I saw that Montclair State University here in Jersey they had a program. It was a 5-year program. And I was just like, well, right now I'm not making a ton of money working at this job. So let me go in kind of the side way where I would do community college, go, get put into this.
Yeah.
So I did all my core things. I got a 4.0 GPA.
Nice.
I did this in like light speed.
Getting it done.
Got into Montclair State, got into the program, kept working my job.
Yeah.
Still filmed for everybody. And, I was a little bit older.
Yeah.
I was like 26 when I got in there. So
wow.
I was a little bit older than all the other kids.
Yeah.
They were all kind of figuring themselves out. And I was like, don't care. I'm a fucking adult. I got a job. Y'all can do this on the weekends, but I got to work.
Oh, my God.
And then the ride never stopped from there. 2012 hit. It was Super Bowl. Everybody was filming out here. everyone ran out of resources,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, "New guy, do you know how to use this?" And I was there like, "Yes."
Those Giants and Patriots.
Yeah, looking at the manual, like, yep.
Yep.
I can do that. Yeah, that's that button there. Shit. Okay.
Jeez, bro, that's wild.
Scared out of my mind, but I still managed to pull it out of my butt.
Yeah, man, and that's wild, man. So
Sorry.
I didn't. Nah, you're good. Yeah, you're good, man. I didn't know that. Wow, you got into the game at that point and then went into school at that level because, like you said, like a lot of people, they kind of make that decision early. Sometimes, right? And even if they make it, then it may not be the one. It may just be something I think is cool, and I maybe I'll make some money off of. They don't really always follow that. Some do, right? But you were able to be in a point where, like, all right, I'm at a crossroads. I just want to take this comfy, predictable thing here and then let the tape play over and over, or do I want to jump off and see what else is going on for you? And you just kind of took that leap. So you had a point in 2012. You get out there, you get your hands on a camera, and you're pushing. From that point on, how quickly did your career take you to the point where you're doing cam op work, you're DPing, you're on major sets, and you're doing bigger projects? How long did that really take you?
So, it ebbed and flowed. I definitely, because most people start as a PA. I started as a PA, but most people who I spoke to that were PAs were giving me some like numbers that I was like, "How long you been doing this?" Some guys were like, "Yeah, no, you got to do this for like 2 or 3 years and then you can move forward." And I was like, "No, I did it for 8 months and I never did that again."
Yeah.
No problem with that. I respect it. Those guys deserve so much respect because they deal with people's crap and they're on shoots for extra hours and they have to deal with all these other things to make sure that your process is as seamless as possible. I think it's definitely a good job to learn, to make mistakes, to be looked at.
Absolutely.
That I just happened to land it at the time
Right
where
place.
I had Bob Richardson sitting next to me, like, and I got to be like, "So when you're not doing Quentin Tarantino movies, what are you doing?" And he's just like, "I'm doing commercials like this," and I'm like, "Oh, cool. So what does that mean?" He goes, "It just keeps me from doing shit movies." And I was just like, it's like,
willing
thanks,
to put in the
Bob.
groundwork so I don't got to say yes to everything.
But I learned that so quick. I was only doing it for 4 months.
Wow.
And then I learned that. Then I got cool with the locations guy, which Rick Nagel, you're the man still. And he actually knew one of the head of my program at Montclair. And I was just like, okay, like this world is.
There you go, divine timing, putting you right place, right time.
Yeah, and then it turned into, okay, I'm doing these big things, but I don't want to be a PA anymore. And so what you do when you say you don't want to be one thing anymore is you don't lose those contacts, but you lose the work because, well, everyone's like, we can't trust you enough to put you in this place yet. So then you kind of have to, every time you decide you want to switch within the realm of film, you kind of have to start a little bit from scratch in terms of the work. Okay, cool. So I went down to shooting anything I could, get my hands on, weddings, events, all these things, like didn't matter. And then I eventually built my confidence up to the point where I was like, well, I don't need to do that as much. Now I can start doing more creative work. Then I would get calls from the students that I went to school with because they all got jobs doing their thing. And they were like, well, I remember this guy being cool.
Yeah.
And that's how that snowballed. And so it's basically the networking part, the Rolodex that you paid $45,000 for, to go to a university, it's an investment.
Yeah.
When you look at it that way, but you also have to kind of have a little bit more of a way of feeling out your intuition.
Okay.
And that's kind of where you start figuring out what's going to ebb and flow. If I could tell you that my career was this, you'd be like, you're full of shit.
Yeah.
It's this. This is my career.
That
is giant squiggle. Like there's going to be an up where I'm handling things when I got brought on as a DP at this production company. Then eventually I started getting moved into more of the creative space within that production company. And that's when I was able to see numbers and
Yeah.
we could hire and actually have say as to what this thing's gonna fucking look like.
Yeah.
And then when the product comes out, I was like, I would get, and even then, when you're in that space, there's only like 3 projects a year that you're like,
yeah.
The rest are like small, because everyone's got to pay their bills.
Yeah, too.
But you gotta, when you look at it in every kind of way, there's always gonna be like these little, like it's got to be like a heart rate monitor. Right?
Seriously, I think that's like a perfect point, because most of us, no matter what avenue of life we want to get into, you really think it's just going to be this, and it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. And sometimes you're like you said, you get something big, maybe another big one. You'll have like a good streak of big stuff, and then like for a while, it's just like paying the bills, stacking money. You're good, nothing crazy, and then you kind of have a point where you get back on that hill again, and you're running. And often, I feel like so many people get discouraged when they're sitting in that lull where it's not as big as they want, and they see other people maybe doing bigger things, that they can even stop at that point. I mean, you made so many good points. I got to hit on all of them with it. And I think that's huge, because I know being this work myself, there, like you were there when I think I text you. I got my first big gig with Viacom for Smithsonian Channel, and I was that same kid, like looking on my cell phone. You literally sent me the manual, like, read this and you'll be fine. And I'm like, oh God, there's so many buttons. I'm used to Sony's. Why do they gotta use Canons? Yeah. Why is it Canons? And I'm sitting there like, I had to learn, I had to adjust. And once I got on set, I was eventually fine. And then as the more and more I did it, I got my confidence. And for that, I remember for that whole, 3 months, September through December, even into January, I was just like, oh yeah, I'm going this set, I'm shooting this for this channel and this company. This is sick. And then it was like January and February come, and it's like crickets. And you're like, is this normal? And you're like, yeah, no one's doing anything right now. Your phone will
is coming.
Yeah, like maybe your phone will ring in March, and in April you'll probably be busy, and you know what the summers are going to be like. And it's such a weird feeling, because like you're on that high for the entire time, and then when you're not getting called, you're worried. You're like, did they move on from me? Did they pick somebody else? How your bills getting paid? Well, that's like you said, you got to save, bro. When the work is that way. Like I remember, like, all right, it's winter. Is there any winter weddings I can jump on a wedding to get done? And it kind of it changes your mindset a little bit. But you just be patient and get back to it. And I think you made a really good point about college being more than just the knowledge you learned, but becoming your first Rolodex. Because I mean, for me, like we met when we met when I was in college at that point. And like to know you now, and then literally you did all of this. Like I remember, oh man, there's so many years. The Rolodex of memories is just flipping down. I remember like you've been like, oh yeah, I'm working on this thing for Al Gore. Like that's how like long ago it was when Al Gore was doing stuff. And then I'm like, well, where's John? And there's like, oh, he's in New York. He's filming some commercial thing and blah, blah. I'm like, yo, he's always filming stuff. This is nuts. And then like literally like years later, I'm like, hey, so
like, are you sure?
Think about picking up a camera. What do you think? But if like I said, if I didn't know you, if I didn't know my buddy Tyson, if I didn't know my buddy Ariel, who's out here doing crazy stuff and crazy documentaries, like I would not have had the wealth of knowledge you guys carry, and two, the opportunities to actually like be on set for something and be like, hey, can you want to come PA this? You're going to get paid a PA's wage. We can throw you a little extra because we can use your truck to bring things. But yeah, just be on set. You can learn some stuff. And like having that priceless opportunities. I remember I was DPing for Smithsonian and taking PA work in the same week just because I'm like, I'm going to learn something. I'm going to watch something. There's going to be something here I haven't touched before. And then I get on set and I'm like, okay, this is a lot of lights. What are we shooting here? Oh, we're shooting an Instagram video about this boutique gym. And I'm like, we're shooting an Instagram video for a boutique gym with all of this. And there's a makeup artist and there's a director and a chair and there's a lot of monitors. What? Social media advertisement. And I'm just like, All right, cool. Sounds good. What do you guys want for lunch? Like, I'm gonna go pick it up. Like, no, don't worry about it. I got it. And but it's such a beautiful part of the growing process of that unknown. You never know what you're gonna get. Even on something small, you might learn something. You might meet somebody that you may make them in handy, not now, but years down the road, where maybe you bump into each other. They remember you from that. I think that's something that a lot of us till this day may not look at college as anymore because let's be real, like you can learn if you're fortunate enough to have good mentors, access to equipment, and self discipline to teach yourself, you can learn on your own. There's things you're not going to get from being in a classroom and having actual assignments to get you creative. You're not going to have that structure there, but you can get at least working without all of it. But I think that's a huge part where college of connecting with people, building those relationships. That if you don't have that when you're working alone, you may not be as prepared on set as the people that have been doing it. So this is what's gonna roll me into the next piece, right? Because we live in a world now you can pick up an iPhone and you can shoot raw footage, and you can make something look beautiful. Um, it seems as media has become way more accessible to the public these days, especially with social media. Do you feel like larger media companies and bigger productions are still something that's going to be influential for the future?
Yes, it has to take. I think it's a cultural question. What you're asking is, you know, um, we have to culturally instill a certain type of consumption of media.
Mm.
I just watched this thing from Nerdwriter. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's on YouTube. He talks about French New Wave cinema.
Hmm.
He also talks about how the French they will do grant programs to make sure independent films will continue
Yeah.
running through their theaters, and they
Okay.
also make children watch movies in
Wow.
theaters.
Wow.
So again, it's not is it perfect? No, no system is, but that type of culture
Mm.
is where everything stems from. Right now, we're in the middle of changing the cultural landscape on media consumption
Yes, we are.
because we're about to block children from consuming media the way they've been consuming media for 10 years now. And I honestly, personally, I don't have a problem with that. I think the what it's doing is it's devaluing who they think they are
Mm.
because they think that they have to hold themselves to a made up, edited timeline of things, ideas. You are not that. You are a massive entity that streamlines into that. That's great. But that is the beginnings of a cultural shift that I think we need to change together. Um, and until we actually implement these things to stop that kind of consumption, we're not going to find the same quality that you're looking for or that you're talking to me about. I think that quality is very important. I think we need to hold on to it. I think, people complain about a 3-hour movie on a giant screen, but you'll binge watch Netflix shows for 8 hours at home.
Tell them.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you'll sit there. Yeah, you'll sit there and you'll scroll on TikTok or YouTube Shorts or any of that stuff for hours mindlessly. You don't even think.
Whew.
So
Wow.
but again, this is nothing to do with like
Bars.
a person's intelligence.
Bars.
We're all very smart. We are all taught to learn and soak up information as much as possible.
Yes. Yep.
We
Yes,
do this
sir.
with books. We do this with music.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that if you're gonna make it so easy to consume media as a production company, you better be prepared for the repercussions because you can't produce it fast enough.
Mm.
Look what happened with Quibi. Is that the one where you had like 5 seconds to make a film? They got like all these really expensive people.
What? Oh yeah,
They were
yeah,
absorbed
yeah,
by
yeah.
Roku, I think. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah, yeah.
so Quibi, yeah, look them up. They went real high and then crashed
Ooh.
immediately because they were producing these $5 million, like $2 million, like short videos.
Yeah.
And they were super cinematic and great, but you could watch them all in 20 minutes. You can watch their
Gee.
entire library in like a day. So like, this is the issue. And unfortunately, Netflix, of course they're pioneers in
Yes.
regard of putting out media.
Yeah.
But the Netflix model of taking your entire season and putting it out all at once, it's not going to work for longevity.
Yeah, because you get used to, we become accustomed to let me consume more. So then seasons have to go from 8 episodes to 16 because you're gonna watch them in the same, and I'm gonna lose you. You jump to another platform. And all of a sudden, the episodes for a season where we used to watch 23-minute episodes on television are now 60-minute episodes, which is 8 hours. If it's an 8 hour, that's a lot of time. And people, like you said, you don't realize it because it becomes your new norm. And I remember watching a recent piece about how people are actually becoming habitual media jumpers, where basically people will unsubscribe and resubscribe to different platforms based upon when shows are released because I need to consume consistently high quantities of media that are good to watch. So I'm gonna go, like you said, I'm gonna go and watch your entire catalog that I'm interested in, and then I'm gonna unsubscribe. And then I'm gonna go resubscribe to this and watch the rest of their catalog. And when you step your game back up, I'm good. And they said the only reason they're continuing to do this is because there's what, a good 4 to 5, 6 platforms that can offer you that amount of content. And it's almost like it's like any addiction, right? You want a higher, more intense fix the more and more you consistently absorb it. So I think to even put that type of connection to media the way you did is it's alarming, but at the same time, it's extremely fascinating that we could do it with something as such long form content as TV shows are right now, which is interesting because I'm gonna go back to the social media part, right? Because people often say people's attention spans are so short these days. Like they watch a five. If you don't grab their attention immediately, you're not gonna get them hooked. I almost think it's not that their attention spans are so short. I think it boils down to I have such a wide variety of content. If
So
you
much.
can't show me something I want immediately, bro, I got a million other channels to watch. Bro, what are we doing here? John, go home. Go home. What are we? End the show.
Hey.
What are we? What?
You're gonna have
What?
you're gonna have to do
What?
It's real short, and then every time I do something like this, you're gonna have to put a giant text in there, and then right, and then zoom in with an effect on my eyeballs, and then turn it into some kind of a musical cut with some bullshit.
That's such a wild conundrum, right? Because so are you saying it there is still room to compete if you're putting out quality?
Absolutely. I think remember we talked about it before. There's a subconscious commitment you make when you go to a movie where there is a commitment. You're giving up time and money and your comfort. Remember, one of the greatest things that we did in terms of allowing streaming was it's convenient. You don't got to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And platform jumping, that's basically Mario Bros.
Yeah.
That's what people are doing because it's so easy to consume. I'm not saying make it harder. I'm just saying don't lose out on the experience of being able to we're all doing this to lose ourselves a little bit. Let's be real.
Man, yes.
So when you're just scrolling, you're not dealing with
It's time machine.
Yeah. So do it in a way where, again, culturally, you're making it, oh, this movie makes me think. This makes me feel. I'm being told this story. It like when you read a good book and you don't want to put it down, you want to capture that, right? And you do it so easily with a movie because it's so easy to consume. You don't have to concentrate on someone reading something to you or you looking at words and processing them with your brain. You're getting audio visual stimulation all around, which is what makes it great. But you're losing so much, and when you keep shrinking the screens and you keep doing all these things to take that attention away from that experience, and I think that the shift that we're going to see in the next 5 years is we're going to slow it down. I know we think we want to speed it up, and all the algorithms are there, and they're really, but it's a time bomb at this point.
Yeah.
You don't have the ability to produce fast enough, and this is why everyone wants to go AI, because they're like, well, we can make
They
it quicker.
can do it for us.
Yes. Do I think that AI has usefulness? Of course, I've used it to help me board. I can't come up with a completely beautiful, doc image here that you have. I have to rely on that very quickly to make sure that what I'm saying translates to the next person that I'm trying to transfer my mind to. Do I think also that like the capabilities are there with AI? No, I think it's overblown. I think it's a little bit over the top currently. Could it be better in a few years? Absolutely. I still don't think that it's fully understood, and I think that the wrong people with the money are putting too much stock into it, and the people who and basically disenfranchising the people who really care and want to create art. And like,
wow. So are you saying to me AI is the next tech boom?
Oh, we're already there. Like, nobody knows what to do with it. Nobody knows how to categorize it.
Yeah.
Every time I hear someone talk about it, I'm like, man, you really don't know what
Yeah, because I think I definitely attest to it, right? Because to me, I've seen AI as, like you said, it's a tool to help those that are creating move faster.
Yeah.
And when you mass market it to the everyday consumer, it becomes a toy to create things at ease to feel a part of the creative environment. And social media has made it so that we all have a platform to share our creative environments as well. And it kind of builds up that system of like people being the product and not necessarily the consumers of the product that's being created. So it seems to me like if you're willing to put in the work, you're willing to get creative, you're willing to care about your craft, make something quality, you have absolutely nothing to worry about, because there's still going to be few and far those people out here actually doing the work.
Yeah, I mean, technology is always going to be the thing that shifts art, right? Before there were films, there were painters.
Yep.
Before the photograph, there was painters. The photograph came, and then painters were like, well, their stuff devalued? No. Eventually became a niche, and then later
and now it's millions of dollars for paintings, right?
Same thing with photography. Now anybody can take photos. As that devalued photography? You can say in some ways, people who would sell photos now have a harder time, but does it not allow them to find another creative field? Look at animators. That was a good solid 50 years. And then they were like, well, I guess we're out of business now. It's all 3D, but then they became 3D animators. Same thing with film. I was running film cans around the city to get processed.
Yeah.
There was like digital. Then that means any asshole with a digital camera can do something. And yes, any asshole with a digital camera can do something.
They're not going to do it.
But can you, though?
But are they going to do it?
Because at the end of the day, the argument for analog, you're still creating something that resonates with people.
Yeah.
And as much as we keep creating this AI stuff, you still got to please the human that's next to the
Oh, wow. See, man, it's bars, right? Seriously. Chop this up. We're done, folks. Chop this, edit up. It's going online tomorrow. But you made so many good points from the aspects of a creative artist in the film space, because the average consumer doesn't think that way. And I'll be even honest with you, like when it comes to the average person that wants to start creating, they don't think that way. They kind of hope that they can ride the wave, get lucky with something they're doing, and it catches in the community, and people like it, and they can grow up and get big and famous, and they keep doing it. When in reality, it's like, take your time, learn what you like, learn what your niche is, try things out, learn the skills behind it, get better at it, and then put out a product you can be proud of. And that's still going to make you way more of a rarity than everybody out there that's just rushing to create something without thinking who's going to want to consume it.
I think also what you just said there is a good point. It took me 10 years to figure that out.
And we getting it here for free right now.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the whole thing where you're your abilities to the test is one part, but then figuring it out in a more holistic way, more like, what do people really want to see? What am I doing this for? You know, do I have patience? Is this about me? That takes that's some serious soul searching, and life needs to happen to you.
Yes.
Enough times, and life, has happened to me a couple of times. And every time life has happened to me, I had the chance to just quit.
Yeah.
And every time it was like, Phoenix.
Right. Like, go harder, do more, man. And I do commend you for all that, bro.
It is, you need those experiences to kick your butt, to then ask yourself, is it worth me continuing my artistic endeavor? And if the answer is still yes, then you got it. You got to keep going. And there's something that calls you to it every time. And you're sitting there like Ben Affleck holding a cigarette in a Dunkin' Donuts thing. Like, it's 3 a.m. I've been doing this for 15 days. Okay, let's go. But yeah, no, it takes that discipline. That took me a decade, and I'm still learning a lot.
Sheesh. Huh. I mean, I'm done processing and need some time. I think I want to end it on that. Yeah, I think you laid out so much to process. I'm gonna need to go take a ride on this, but I definitely appreciate you bringing such an eye-opening perspective of film and media that I can tell you I necessarily wasn't viewing everything from, even being in this space. But the level of expertise and amount of time that you spent doing in this, and even the beautiful fact of how your experiences through life continued to shape the way you see things, the way you did things, and how you grew within this industry. I think it's amazing. It's been amazing to watch. And I'm super grateful you were able to share that here, bro, because that was super wild. So I do this with everybody. That's your camera. Take your time. Let the people know what you got going on if they want to check out anything you have, and how they can maybe get in touch if you want some work done.
Oh, you do this with everybody? Okay.
Yeah.
Shit.
That's how I'm feeling. I'll be here with them.
I have a LinkedIn that people use that still. John Fuentastic or Fuentastic, however you want to look it up. Fuentastic is usually it's my alter ego.
Yes.
I usually, whenever I have to have a moment where I have to build myself up and say, let's do this, I'm like, Fuentastic, let's go. And, I think that's where you're going to find me. I'm on Instagram. I just, if you want something fun and creative and just pure, let's go. That's what I'm here to do.
Sheesh. Cool. Sheesh. Right?
Was that okay?
I'm gonna start calling them bars from now on. Like,
guys, what does bars mean?
Oh God. We'll tell you off there. But ladies and gentlemen, oh man, super dope show. John, thank you again for for coming on the show. If you guys liked what you saw, and you want to get in touch, you want to check out his work, he has a lot of beautiful things in social media. You can see what he's done. We're going to put all his details in the description below. Hit him up on Instagram. Check out his LinkedIn. If you need work out there, definitely hit him up. Not only will be good work, it'll be a good time on set as well. And if you guys have been tuning in this long, you already know I'm going to ask you, hit that like button, subscribe, ding that bell, come on back, share it with a friend, leave a comment or two, come back and see me and AJ and see what we do here on the show.
Yep.
And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. I'm your boy, Chris Dre. AJ, say peace to the people.
Hey, peace, people.
All right, everybody, like you know what it is. Nothing but peace and love.